Okay. All right, welcome everybody to this meeting of the Finance Committee, and I'll call it to order. We want to thank Bill Johnson for coming to our meeting tonight to give us an explanation. There's a transfer request from the Parks and Recreation Committee, and we received a request, and we had some questions about the whole project, and Bill volunteered to come and talk to us about it. So
This is volunteer.
thank you very much. Why don't you go ahead and explain?
I'll give you a Reader's Digest condensed version, because actually this, which I think Bob probably relate to it. Believe it or not, the town of Granby is like 50 years late on performing this project. It was part of, there's not supposed to be any poles over Dufresne's. All the electrical poles, all the electrical was supposed to be put underground. That was part of the original grant back 50 years ago. Well, we got the money from the federal government. Over the various years, it's been just kind of you know, oh, next year. When the selectmen reshuffled the committees, they created the Parks Committee in 2014 and 2015. We started to get going. They put me on, some other various people, and that was like one of the issues that we said, hey, we got to get this taken care of, you know, aesthetically, and we're trying to get the park up to get more rentals, because the rental has been, you know, flat on the rental. So it's like anything else being in business, before you go up in your rates, you got to make a better product or better service or whatever. So if you've noticed, there's signage over there now, better signage. Cleaned up, we painted the gazebo, blah, blah, blah. So we're going through it. So anyway, we started going into this the electrical project. And I said to Chris Martin, what can we do? And he goes, well, it's underneath the threshold for, you know, putting it out to a official, you know, RFP or whatever. So I put, which you guys don't have in your packet, but originally I sent out 5. I contacted 5 local electricians. I got the papers here who I sent them to, and we only received comments, or we only received bids back. I shouldn't say bids, because it's not really a bid, but put a reply back to the request from 2 contractors. And one of them was Rosario, who we're dealing with, and the other one was Ray Florence. And there was, financially, there was no, you know, Ray Florence said he was going to charge $85 per hour and a 25% markup on parts. And the hourly rate was based port to port, which, you know, is the travel time. Rosario bid $75 an hour for the electrician, $55 an hour for the apprentice, and only a 5% markup. And he wasn't going to charge port to port. So there was no, you know, discussion as far as who to choose. So we went with Rosario. So we started doing the project, and we decided we were going to do the project in phases, you know, because we wanted to, we were trying to utilize all our money, you know, that we had, because I don't know if you're aware, but the parks doesn't have a budget. We get $0.
You get there's a revolving fund.
Well, there's a revolving fund from the parks fees,
right,
which barely covers the ongoing expenses. You know, like getting the hood fixed. You know, all that type of stuff. But Marie Quirk, who I don't know if you people know her, but she had bequeathed money to the town, and that was one of her requests, from what I understand, is for the electrical. We thought it'd be good to get the project going. So we started doing the project. We have spent, it's kind of like, well, I'd like to say it's almost like, it's phase 1, you know, because really you had to get, if you do an electrical project, you have to put it out. If you wanted to put it out for bid, you would have had to get like an electrical engineer or somebody to draw the design. So basically we had Rosario Electric, that was all part of it. When we did it, we kind of mapped it out ourselves with him, what to do. So we basically have all of the, for lack of a better term, we have all the infrastructure in place. All the piping's in place, all the, I don't know what the fancy name is, but there's temporary posts that when you need electric, you put them in like a pit or something, there's covers, I don't know what the fancy name is, but.
Talking about a box between.
Well, it's
conduit or-
what it is there's, all the piping is underground, and then there's like junction boxes, but they're big, and there's covers on them. And then when you need electric around the park, around the common area, you take that cover off, you put the post in there, and that gives you your electrical outlet, electric for the field. So all that infrastructure is done. There's a shed that's been put in there to house the electrical panels.
Was that all that work that was done in 2015?
It was done over 2015 and 16. And then we were kind of, this past 17, we kind of struggled to say, we were kind of like stuck on monies. We didn't want to draw down the account anymore because you need a certain amount of operating income. And it's like one of those things you can't hope for a Hail Mary, for somebody else is going to bequest some money or something, or,
And maybe the Red Sox will come and hold a rally, right?
Whatever, the rentals will go up, but the rentals have been flat. You hope you get a big, like Minuteman used to do a big, it's not Minuteman no more, it's Diamond RV used to do a big jamboree, I don't remember that.
Yeah.
We had reached out to them to see if we get them in there, try to get, and the bottom line is just the rentals are the rentals, and we have not been able to get like a big player in there to help out. That's what we were kind of hoping. So we kind of went through this phase, but when going through this, we discovered that there's high power voltage lines running through there, which is
With the 240?
no,
more bigger?
they're many volts. If you go through the park, on the Taylor Street side.
Yeah.
I mean, on the Kendall Street
Kendall
side.
Street, right.
The Kendall Street side, if you go all the way down, that's like, it goes over, that's like, the electrician, he made us aware of it last year, I don't know why, he goes, I'm looking at it, he goes, that should not be there, should not be in a park. It's not so much, there's two issues going on. Number one, we're 50 years behind on doing what we're supposed to do, when we got the park in 1968, and, then we discovered that the voltage line, the high voltage line, we said, we gotta do something, now that, because it creates a liability, once you know about it, that's not good.
So it's different from the normal power?
Yeah, I don't wanna misquote and say the wrong voltage, but it's like, some of the voltage, like 3 to 5 to 700, this is like a couple thousand, 3,000 volts.
Where does that voltage go to then? Because there's not enough power consumption in the park for that to be used as.
It crossed over to Taylor, I believe,
So it must
That's-
feed Taylor Street then.
and that's gonna have to get, yeah.
So is
Is-
it owned by?
So who owns it?
It's the electric company owns it, but we gotta get the power underground to get rid of it.
All right, but then why is it their responsibility to?
They will take the poles out and they'll take it out, but bottom line is our park, and
But
I'm
they
not an
would-
electrician.
They would have to continue to provide power to Taylor Street somehow.
I
Yes?
have no clue.
Yeah, I mean, they would not have electricity,
All
so.
I know is it's a high power line, that's what he said, the electrician said it shouldn't be there.
So, so the 19,500 or 13,500,
Yeah,
the question
we're
now,
taking 6,000 out of our budget.
is for these newly discovered high voltage lines?
No,
Okay.
not at all. This is
All
to
right.
finish the project.
Okay,
This is to finish the project. That's
So-
just a.
so those voltage lines are gonna be in addition to this?
No, those voltage lines will be coming out of the park once
Okay.
we finish the project.
So are they tied together? Do you have to get yours done before you can take that out?
Correct. We have to finish the project so all that can get
All
removed.
right,
Has
so,
anyone contacted the electric company to find out what maybe their responsibility might be, or,
Well, they're not gonna pay for the project, so one has nothing to do with the other.
well, removing the,
One has nothing to do with the other. If they're gonna take out the power lines, we still need to finish this project for the park to get rid of the poles. So one has, it's,
That comes out to me that there isn't any provision for the way in which the high tension lines are gonna get out of there.
Bob, I can't answer, I'm not an electrician. All I know is that's what we were told, that those lines should not be there. you know?
No, and that's not what I
Yeah.
agree they
Yeah.
shouldn't be there.
Yeah, all I know,
All right?
that's what I was told,
But the
but,
money you're looking for has absolutely nothing to do with those high tension lines.
correct.
Okay.
Well,
so-
it does and it doesn't. It's those poles will be coming out of there, and hence, once those poles come out, those lines are gonna be eliminated.
Oh, I see that.
So-
Those high tension lines are running on the same poles that are,
Correct, correct.
On the poles
So-
that feed Dufresne's Park.
Right.
Oh, so it's two separate feeds then?
Oh, yeah, yeah, if you go over and
Oh,
look, you'll see
okay.
the high tension are on top, and then you got the low voltage on is lower. So on the top, so like I said, it's, yes, it's tied together, but it's not tied together, but this is just an
So-
addition we found out about. that
Where are
was
the
there.
high tension lines gonna go?
No clue, I'm not an electrician.
Yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
curious, if you take your lines and put them underground, do we still have the same issue of
Yeah,
the overhead?
No,
line?
because then they're gonna be forced to, the electric company or whatever will be forced to move everything, because we're taking the
But,
poles
but
out.
they'll be forced to put them underground?
No, I don't think so.
doesn't the power company have pole site approvals? They used to come in for pole hearings, and every pole that they put in is supposed to be approved by the Board of Selectmen.
These poles have
That
been
would
there
mean the Board of
forever.
Selectmen would have to either agree or disagree
Yeah.
with these coming out.
Oh, yeah, and not only that, but.
And let them deal with the power
But
company.
if the power company's gonna have to put those high voltage lines underground, I think it would make more sense to coordinate with you're doing the other lines as well.
Do
No,
you,
it has nothing to do with
We're
it.
going around
The- the-
now.
We're not, we don't,
What's their plan?
we don't use the high voltage lines, they're just going through there.
are you saying that the electric company has high voltage lines running on poles that are on Granby's property?
From what I understand, yeah, that's what
he's saying.
that's what the electrician said. Where they go, what they do, we're not using, because it's not, unless there's a transformer that breaks it down for the park, I have no clue.
Probably what's even more likely is that somebody strung some low voltage lines on the bottom of what was already there.
Yep, probably.
Yeah.
That could
They
be.
had the right to be, they were there first, the high tension.
That sounds
and
like a
we-
good idea.
That could
Because
be.
that's probably been there before it became a
Yeah.
park.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, actually, you know something about that, very well could be.
Yeah.
Those could have been from prior to when even that was a park.
In which case you, the
They go all the way
federal
through.
government saying the poles have gotta come down,
Since yeah, that was part of the original,
the poles have gotta come down.
that was part of the original, when we got the
But you
$50,000.
didn't own the poles and don't have any control of it. That's a good deal.
Yeah, they actually cross the pond and go all the way to Taylor Street, if
I
I'm
believe
thinking about it
so,
correctly.
yes.
They go over the horse corrals
Yeah.
and that, and they go all the way
I
across.
believe so. But like I said, that's the secondary issue, it has nothing to do, I mean, it has, but it doesn't, it's nothing to do with the project of what we're doing.
Well, it depends
you
what
know.
they're gonna do with those wires, I
Wires,
guess.
yeah.
Because
Well,
They don't take the
they'll
poles
probably
down, they're
run
still
them
out of
down.
compliance.
Yeah, no, they're gonna be forced to move them, I mean, it's,
Well, I mean, it sounds like what they have to do is move them underground unless they reroute them.
you
Yeah.
can't, because you can't go through the pond.
Yeah.
I would think you'd want to find out what their plan is.
Alert them with them and then
How it merges with
coordinate it all
theirs.
together.
Yeah.
for example, so the way I understand this is that, first of all, we would like our power lines to be underground.
Correct.
But, and so we take them off of the poles, just run them through the conduits that are there, all the rest of stuff that's done. But then, there must be some kind, if they have their poles on Granby's land, there must be some kind of contract that they have for the, that's not public, that's not their right of way, is it? Or an easement.
Yeah.
And so, why would we be able to take those poles down without their consent?
As far as I know, it's not an issue, I don't know. I have no clue, all I know is we want to finish the project, come in compliance with what we were supposed to do 50 years ago.
Okay, so is this 13,500 over and above what was originally
Yeah.
quoted?
No, there wasn't a quote, it was a per hour bid.
Okay,
And what we did, we knew it was gonna be around $26,000 project. Well, we thought it was gonna come in underneath the 25, well, actually, it's 50 now, isn't it, for the, yeah. All I know is we coordinated with Chris Martin, and he put an amen on everything we did, so.
Does this map illustrate where the conduit was laid?
No, I think I have,
And I see markings which I think that's just conduit in my eyes.
Yeah, let
aren't
me see
great.
if that's, which one you got there?
So, yeah, I'm looking at the pond. Pond is on the left side of the page.
Yes, yeah,
Tail-
those boxes.
Are those
That's-
boxes, those little junction boxes that
Right.
you're talking about?
Yep.
And so that's all in the park proper. That doesn't go over to the ball fields
No,
or the
this
other
is
side.
only, this is taking care of, what we're gonna be doing is, this will be taking care of the issues over on the Kendall Street side. And then Taylor Street, there is no need for power over there. We talked to Shayna Humphrey, they use power for the horse rink with the generators nowadays, the temporary generators, they only need power like 3-4 times a year. So it's just, they can just get a.
Cheaper of them to bring in their generator,
exactly,
yeah.
Exactly. So,
Conduits, those judge, so essentially they go through the center of the park. There's Kendall Street on your left.
So the third phase is over on the left-hand side of the map.
Yeah.
All right, this has been very helpful with this description that there are in fact 2 power lines that we're talking about.
well, yeah, like I said, I guess it kind of confuses things, but, you know, the bottom line is, I'm not an electrician. I don't know if he was over embellishing, he just said that shouldn't be there, that's all he said.
Yeah, no, one of my concerns would be that we may not have the authority on our own to take down the poles. Now, that really is sort of independent of the project of moving our power.
Well, yeah, and then there's still gonna be, the high power line is only taking up, 2, 3, I think like 3 poles, so still all the rest of them can come down. So
The ones that have just our power line on?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So there's still, like I said, it's combined, but it's not, you know, combined.
So regardless of the high voltage lines, we would still be taking us down and putting them underground.
Yes, yes, but that's, the high power line should be moved also.
But the purpose of doing that is to comply with the federal deal.
Correct.
Nothing to do with
The high.
the movement of the power.
Right, exactly, that's
Yeah.
something we found as we went through this project, that's kind of like a burr underneath the saddle that has to be dealt with. But like you said, that's the electric company's problem to deal with that.
Yeah, but are we still out of compliance with those there, though? My understanding is we're still out of compliance.
Well, we have been for 50 years, so it's like, yes, but,
And nobody's on your back. to get-
yeah, nobody's on that, we just,
And you did put a sign in over there on Kendall Street, so they know where the park is.
yeah, there you go. Yeah, no, we've been trying to get the park up, and actually, this is when I wanted to show some other thing. This is like, this is nothing, but this is, everything's over there is old, and this is gonna be taken care of. Charter Day went to go hook up the electricity last year, and they had issues. They had to pay out, all the whole, where the meter and everything on the pole, all that was all, because it's outside all the time. They had like a $1,300 bill. So this is gonna be taking care of all that issue too, of all the old wiring on the poles, you know, when you go over there.
Can't go plug in anything over there anymore, huh?
Posts that are gonna go into the junction box are gonna be what they're gonna use for Charter Day to plug into.
Yeah, they're temporary. What there is you, like you said, you pop the cover off and then they slide in, and catch, and then you hook the wires up and it gives you, you know, it's about yay high and it gives you all the power you need.
Bill, if we separate these 2 things and forget about the high power lines and just talk about the other piece of it. There are poles on our property with just our power in
Correct.
it. And
The majority of them are. Just
majority, yeah. And we want those removed. Why is that? Because why should those poles not be there?
Because we're, to bring us in conformity with what the original grant was for the park.
Of not to have any poles on the?
Yeah, that was the original in 1968 when we got the park. It was supposed to, all the power was supposed to be put underneath. And also just aesthetically, to try to bring
Right.
the park up, you know, to get more rentals, you know, everybody's,
So you think that was one of the conditions of the grant that?
I know.
Of the grant, okay.
which like I said, they didn't take it back, John, so it's not.
Right.
It's not, I'm not gonna rest all my laurels on something that was 50
Right.
years old that we should have been doing, but I mean,
Can we edit this tape before it goes out on TV?
you know, so it's like, just bottom line is just trying to bring the park up. If you notice, all the trees were trimmed over there in the park, you know, it's just, you could spend, problem is, it's like anything else, when you don't, everything gets neglected, or it's like tomorrow, you know what I mean? Then I'm the first to admit, I was a selectman for 15 years, and it's like, when budgets are tight, it's, you know, you gotta plow the roads, you gotta fix the roads, and, you know, everything else comes secondary. So we, like I said, when Recorp donated some money, we took and we spent, just to cut all those trees over there, was like $4,000 or $5,000, you know, and trim it all up, but the park looks a lot nicer, you know? So this is just all part of bringing it into conformity, number one, which, like I said, that's not, 50 years, I don't think that was going after it, but just aesthetically, just to bring it back up, get the poles out, make it a place people want to pay rent and to use it, and try to get the top dollar. We want to, like I said, like I was talking before, as being in business, you can't go up in your prices until you give a better product and a better service. This is all part of that.
I've got two questions.
Sure.
The quotations on doing the work that you've got, are they recent quotations? Or were
Yes.
they? Yes,
No,
okay, so
this is
they were not for the whole deal, they were for
correct.
just phase 2 and 3.
The quotation we got here is like within the last 20 days, 30
Oh, okay,
days.
so
Yes.
they're current.
Yeah, that's current, yes.
Now, I forgot what my other question was, just like you.
I mean, my question is, did you run through town council with conflict of interest?
Conflict of interest for,
He's an assistant electrical inspector, 268A, section 17 says, people that work for the town aren't supposed to work for the town.
what, Rick Razaza?
Yeah.
Ran it through the procurement officer.
Okay.
You have to ask him that. Mr. Martin's the procurement officer, so.
Okay. All right, well,
So
My other question.
he told me that it was okay to accept this, so you, and I don't even know, maybe he wasn't even a part-time electrical inspector back when that happened, I don't know.
In phase 1.
Yeah, I don't know, yeah, when did he become the part-time electrical inspector?
I don't know, it's on the town website as being, at least currently.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, that's an issue you can take with the procurement officer.
Mine was, what's involved with the timing of this? Why now rather than
yeah.
Why
6
now?
months from now or 8 months from now?
There isn't, just, we got some, to be very honest with you, it's like you guys, it's all volunteer boards. Lou came on, Lou Berry came on, he's full of energy. And we were talking about this is a project that we've had languishing, and Lou goes, well, I want to spear this up, so that's,
So there isn't
you know.
anything other than driving it, other than
no,
just a
it can wait.
desire to get it done.
It can wait till, well, the desire to get it done, yeah, I mean, part of getting it is there's still the and I will call the electric company, but and I'm gonna call Rick up and ask him to clarify about the high voltage lines. That is a burning issue. I mean, it's like anything else. Once you're aware of it, Bob, a pothole, the town of Granby's not liable for a pothole until somebody calls up and says there's a pothole there and the town doesn't fix it in a timely manner. Then we're liable. My concern here is with these voltage lines, we've been made aware of the issue. What's the definition of a timely matter to deal with it? And
Yeah, but we're not dealing with the high voltage.
we can't, I know,
Sorry.
but until, yes,
So
we
the-
are, because they can't, I guess they can, but it's part and parcel, everything's all tied together.
What you're saying is if by chance the electric company decides that they want to get rid of the high power lines running through there,
Yeah.
they can just take the poles down, and then you have no
They
electricity.
can, well, that might be part of the, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
That could be a legal issue too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
You've got lines
Yeah.
on.
has the electric company been made aware of this?
I thought, I believe Rick said he was gonna talk to him, so I will confirm that with Rick.
It looks to me, and I've been studying this map for a while, that the high voltage lines come in from the Kendall Street side and terminate by the gazebo where that main junction box is. And then the poles to be removed are the ones that run essentially down the main green area where the gazebo is and comes
Correct.
down to the tree line.
Yeah.
So those are the ones that run along the tree line, behind the bathrooms and the recreation building there. And then there's another set of poles that run along the dirt road, along that green area. There's two sets of poles. To me, in looking at this map, the poles to be removed are in the green area. The poles to remain, if I'm reading the legend correctly, are the ones that come in off the street. And that would tell me that's where those high voltage
You're
lines
you're
are.
100% correct, Rich. Like I said, the project, it's,
In fact, that says
Right.
high voltage. So the high voltage comes in off of Kendall Street.
Yep.
Comes past the front of the recreation building there, that's the kitchen and the picnic table
Yeah.
area.
well, it goes further, yeah, it's further back.
Yeah, but it comes across there and terminates right at the edge essentially of the dirt road that comes down. The poles then run along the wood line and run along the dirt road line. Those are the poles you're saying have to go.
Are coming out anyway, yeah.
So I don't think the high voltage lines are gonna come out because that's the main feed
Well,
for the
they-
park.
They should, or they could be re-roaded down Kendall Street, but
But they must be they must be what feeds the park. is
I'm
what
not an
I'm thinking.
electrician.
No, I know,
I'm not an electrician.
I'm just thinking that has to be what brings
just like
the
you guys
power.
volunteering my time, trying to get something done. It's like-
Yeah, I'm just trying to think about how something feeds.
Yeah.
You know, power has to get into the park somehow, and then it's distributed through the park for access for people, whatever, people are doing inside the park. Just like it comes to your house.
All I know is what the electrician said is once we get the power in line, they'll take everything down. So I have no clue, I just don't know.
Have they run the underground conduit to the street, or have they just run it?
No, because there is one pole that's gonna stay in the woods, and there's a shed, and everything comes out through the shed. So everything ties to
So
the
the plan
shed.
is to not use the poles where the high tension
Correct,
is?
correct. Everything comes in, if you got the, where is the,
Here's your high voltage wires,
yeah,
and then here's your.
it's not a very good map.
That's pretty good, actually, once
Well, no,
once you
but if you
understand the
look at
legend.
this, it's kinda hard, it's very light, see this square, big square here?
Yep.
That's a shed. And that's the wires are coming into the shed, and all the boxes will be put in, all the circuit breakers, everything's gonna be in the shed. So we're not gonna be running into this issue that, like I said, the charter, they end up having to pay $1,300 because of all the issues from everything being outside. And all those boxes are there. So it's just a matter of finishing everything up.
So phase two gets us,
Gets it done.
and what's phase three again?
Space three.
I have no clue what phase 3 is.
Yeah.
It's a phase 3.
There's a third phase here listed on the Taylor Street side, which shows poles to be removed.
Oh, right,
And-
that's
and that as
just,
well.
that's just disconnecting the electric over at Taylor Street.
Because there's poles that come in on the Taylor
Yeah.
Street side, down the road, the entry road, and then run across
Yeah.
by the ball field.
Yeah, just disconnecting all the, we already made the decision, we're just getting rid of all the electric over there. We're not gonna have electric over there.
All right, so
So that solves the problem.
The 19,250 you're looking for, include that, phase three?
Because that's not a big deal to pull the poles out.
Okay,
Yeah, but those are high voltage wires too, according to this
Well,
this
we'll make sure the
legend.
wires are disconnected, Rich.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the legend, and I see high voltage lines
Yeah.
here, coming in here based on the legend,
Yeah.
and the poles to be removed, so that tells me that I would think the electric company would be responsible for removing the high voltage lines if they're on the park property, because to your point earlier.
See, I'm
that's
not
their
even sure
responsibility.
if it goes over, that's where it's, like I said, I'm not an electrician.
Yeah, no, I know.
I'm not sure if the high voltage lines, for whatever reason, are there and they terminate on the park, or they continue. I don't think they continue through. That's what, all I know is the electrician said, once we get everything all done, this will all be done. That's
When
all.
when I look at this, and I'm just trying to understand this, Bill, is the high voltage lines come in, they come up by the pavilion on the corner of the pond. They then run to the well because they must drive the well pump that's here on the edge of the bridge where that building is. So they have to run that well pump because this power ends over here, and that well pump has to run off of some power. So this high voltage wires are coming through here. I don't know that they're going to remain or they're going to.
No, it's gonna be removed.
So and then I'm wondering how we're getting power to the well.
That's a whole nother issue. The well is a problem, has been a problem. We talked about putting another point on the other side, on the power side. But
Okay,
that's a whole separate issue.
so that's gonna be over and above this.
That's a separate issue that we're gonna be dealing with.
In other words, just your well isn't
A
any
point,
good.
yeah, there's, I guess there's
Nothing to
been
do
a
with power,
point.
it's just-
It just is, I guess it hasn't been, it's been a problem. So it's like, that's a whole separate problem that needs to be fixed. So it's not adding any extra cost, because it's something that had to be dealt with anyway. So it's like, it is what it is. And they only use it, that's the other thing, we might not even, they only use it once a year for Charter Day. So we're looking at alternate sources.
For water.
Yeah, because then it becomes a problem, because it's supposed to be, you can't use it for public water supply, you only can use it for gray water. And watering horses, I guess, and stuff, so it's like, again, that's a whole separate issue. There's already problems with the well, so it's like, in the pump,
So you have a gray water well that you're gonna.
Well, there's a well, they use the well, I guess, for one, you can't use it for potable water, because it's not tested. But I guess there's been problems with the pump last year, they had a hard time getting it working. So like I said, it's just,
It's nothing to do with this project.
well,
It's
It's all in the
it's
face of
all,
the side.
for every action is equal and
Right.
opposite reaction, you know.
I mean, that's not part of the
It's
cost
not
of
part
it.
of the project,
But you
and
take-
and it's an issue, anyway,
Right,
that needs to be dealt with. It's not working the way it should be working.
right.
So it's an issue that needs to be dealt with regardless of whether we did this project, we'd probably be moving the well and doing something different.
Right.
Or bringing in, it might be easier, if we're only using it for, like water and horses, it might be easier to just bring in a tank of water for that one day. You know,
Yeah.
like Capone or something, just bring in some water, because it's not potable anyways, and
Yeah.
just use it for whatever they use it for now,
Yeah.
you know?
Is there an overall plan or overall assessment of everything that has to be done for the park to bring it up to the standards that you guys want to get the higher fees?
It's like anything else, we've been,
Are we taking these single shots?
well, it's one of those things, it's kind of like when you look at something, you see the obvious, so you take care of the obvious, and then once you take care of the obvious, then you start refining things. I mean, it's actually, the park is really, like I said, with the tree trimming, doing the poles,
The
pond.
only reason.
No,
The only reason. I bring it
Have we
is,
written up a master plan? No. Have we talked about the things we want to do as a committee to try to get the park better, which we're kind of doing? The
Just
first thing,
from a budget point of view.
we don't have a budget.
All right,
We
well,
don't. It's
Budget for modernization of the park.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you guys are
From a-
opening up that we
from a-
want us to put
from a-
together a plan, we'll come to you for 40
Oh, wait.
grand.
Like the revolving fund for the operations.
yeah, but from a fund request point of view, ultimately, the dollars come out of the taxpayers. Would it make more sense just to have the master plan so we see where it's all gonna go and what's needed, and might there be efficiencies as opposed to?
No, because this is really the major, like I said, we bought signage, the signage was like $800, you know, I don't know if you guys go over to park at all.
I do.
You know, but don't you think the last couple of years it looks better over there, Rich?
It looks fantastic.
Well, I don't know if it looks fantastic.
I
but
think it looks better than when I was a kid.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the proof in the pudding. I mean, we put new signage up, we cut down the brush, which I think kept the pond from getting as much algae because the sun gets in there now. You know, we've been trying to work with the Conservation Commission for the dam to get that fixed. That's been going on for I don't know how long. You know.
Yeah, we just spent the money for that.
Yeah, there was like 99,000 or something someplace for the dam. That went someplace.
Yeah, you gotta spend something else.
Went to Fort Pond.
You know, We're gonna be taking the lights off over on the Taylor Street side, because they're not needed, you know, the power, I should say. So, I mean, do we have a formal master plan? No. But are we following a plan that we've talked about in the committee? Yes. You know, I'm not gonna lie and say, oh yeah, we got a plan we've all written up. We're following along where we feel, and we feel once we get this done, we'll be able to pick at the other stuff that.
If this went to a town meeting, it'd be as a separate warrant article for a small capital project. And then the question is, would the town meeting be in favor of something like this? And I think they would be. You know, Anybody have any more questions?
I'll try to get. I'll reach out to Rick and try to get some more answers on the power lines. You know.
Okay. Well, I think from our point of view of what the request is for money, there really isn't any funds in there for taking care of that, because that's up to the power company to do that.
Yeah. No.
We have our questions as to what process has to be gone through in order to get that to happen. But it's kind of independent of what they're asking for. Yeah. But I think you ought to have maybe the electrician go and check again and report back to you guys about it.
Well, I'm going to ask him about that.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's one of those things. I mean, I'm not trying to make light of it, you know, but like we're all volunteering our time. The guy goes, yeah, once we put this on your line, those are all going to be gone. All right, Rick. Yeah. I don't need no more details. You know, he's like, talking to the electric company, they're going to be gone. Okay. You know, I don't know what the process is. I don't know what, you know. I can try to get some more details on that as far as the process. But.
Okay, any other questions? All right, thank you very much.
No
I
problem.
appreciate
Thank
you
you.
coming.
Good to see you. Take it easy. And I'll see you have a good, we're supposed to say Kwanzaa, Happy Hanukkah, Christmas, all that stuff.
Merry Christmas,
You as
Bill.
well. Merry Christmas, Bill.
Okay. Well, we know a whole lot more than we did 2 weeks ago, or
Right,
last week.
take it easy.
Thanks, Bill.
And I was very happy to hear that their estimate of cost was something which they've gotten within the last month. That doesn't date back to the 2015 date.
Don't forget your coffee.
There it is.
Forgot what coffee.
Nobody drank it.
Wish I ended up putting arsenic in it.
Bill Cosby's out here right now.
So, I'm looking at it from the point of view of alternate funding for, I think the town would be in favor of this kind of thing, which is one of the criteria that we're supposed to use to
I go to
do
his
that.
point though, and I play a little bit off of what Bill said. If you're modernizing the park to get more revenue, and you're saying, well, I'm going to discontinue the power at the ball fields and the horse pavilion or the horse corral and all that stuff, where those are probably the things that will drive revenue more than anything to the park, because if you're renting it out for horse events and things like that, people are going to want lights for evening stuff and stuff like that. So, and I look at the high voltage lines that exist on that side. Somebody's coming to take those down, and it isn't the electrician, right? Because the power, if you have work done at your house, the power company has to come to disconnect the power from your house, if you're having siding done or anything like that. So when I look at what's here, those high voltage lines that come in from the street are not going anywhere on the Kendall Street side, because they're what feed the park its power. And I don't believe, at least personally, that they're gonna come dig a trench and put those underground for us to that point. I don't believe that's going to happen. I believe the poles, when you come in from the Kendall Street side, are going to remain and not go away, because this legend tells me that. And then the ones that they're removing are here, and I believe it's a choice of aesthetics, in my opinion.
I mean,
What would it hurt to call the electric company and have them come out and say, this is what we're planning on doing, what's your responsibility, and what are you gonna do? And maybe put it in an email or something. I mean, you know?
I mean, just
and
from the point of view of what are they gonna commit to do if indeed they say, yep, we have to bury them. Makes sense to do at the same time that we're doing ours, in
Right.
terms of cost effectiveness. And the reason I was asking about, is there an overall arching, thing to be done here? It makes more sense to just get it done, to come for a single funding request and make it happen that way, as opposed to piecemeal.
It could be.
At least now you're addressing something that's supposed to have been done 50 years ago.
Yeah, if they had a plan for the entire park, it would probably be very big cost and be a multi-year project and would not be necessary in order to do some things. They're probably just as happy to do these things piecemeal. For like one thing, like I said, there's really nobody to work on this. It'd be like asking us to take on a project.
Yeah, but
I gotta say, I don't think it qualifies for reserve fund transfer.
I asked that question today, and I was told that his opinion was that, yeah, we would have the authority to do that,
that's Chris.
yeah, that we would have the authority to do that.
You'd like to be the lawyer fighting it.
No.
No, but,
Yeah.
I mean, it's supposed to be an extraordinary expense. It wasn't thought about when budgets were prepared. That isn't the case here. Somebody came along and said, hey, let's get going on this. We've been waiting around for 50 years. Well, I think it's time to do it.
Pretty much.
Well, they have no budget.
But there is a budget time.
Right.
And we aren't gonna say that the members of that committee, of whom 3 are former
Selectmen.
selectmen, aren't aware of when budgets are done.
Well,
I mean,
So, I mean, it's not like they're,
That's
The new guy on the
But that would be
that was going to be my point in the sense, and that's what I was asking about. Do you have the overall plan, proposal, and everything else? And when it makes sense to simply do this as a real budget item for the whole project, we can phase it over time, but do it that way. I mean, that makes more sense.
or do the whole thing up and still phase it out and take care of the
Yeah.
first part, but
make it,
know
make
what
it-
you're trying to
make it
accomplish
part
in
of
the
the
long
actual
run.
budget process as opposed to a reserve fund, because I agree, I don't think of it as an imminent emergency type thing.
You told me something
And-
about when the electrician had
And it's based on,
time in the
it's,
winter.
and it's,
well, it turns out to be not.
That wasn't mentioned
yeah,
at
Right.
all.
yeah, it's based on, we have an electrician who was one of 2 proposals and, and who says, yeah, that needs to go. And that doesn't really sound to me like the state has shown up and said, oh, you're in trouble if you don't take this down right now.
Well, I think those
We
are.
aren't in trouble from a safety point of view.
Yeah.
That's the thing, we're only in,
I didn't hear any of that.
pardon?
I didn't hear any of that.
Yeah.
Well, the federal government gave us a grant.
No, the safety part of it, it wasn't the
Oh, no,
liability,
Yeah.
everything
No, it's
Yeah.
Well,
purely.
wait a minute, hold.
Let's get it done.
All we know is it was said that when we got the grant from the government, that there was a condition on the grant that the poles come out.
Yeah, but that was-
We have no idea what that was, what the reason behind that was.
Yeah,
And-
but it was there, there's no question about it. We take that at face value, but it's been 50 years.
And they aren't on our back.
And not only that.
But I mean,
it's
what I'm
used-
saying is
it's
that
used as a statute of limitations.
we have no reason to say that at that time, it was a judgment based upon aesthetics rather than on
Yeah,
safety.
we have no.
So we really don't know that, and I don't think Bill knew
But-
that either.
As I've always
No,
understood,
but on the other hand, we can't pretend that it isn't
Yeah.
a matter of safety when no one knows it.
yeah,
Right.
as I understand that what they're asking for is something we normally relegate to, it's an emergency. And we need to do it because the plow is broken down and we need a new plow because snowstorm's coming, that type of stuff. This doesn't smack of any of that. And so it sounds like it'd be much better just simply to make it part of the regular budget process.
Or a special town meeting.
Yeah, and if in doing that, they would put everything together and said, look, here's the whole enchilada of what we need to do for the park, as opposed to single piecemeal type things. And we've talked in the past about the terms of the town getting on a business-like setting in terms of these kind of requests and budgeting and all that type of stuff. The reason we have the steering committee in terms of thinking about the right ideas for money, all that type of thing and moving forward as opposed to ad hoc. It sounds like a good place to start.
The one thing I would have one doubt about is whether the individuals who are volunteers working on
Yeah.
Parks Reclamation, whether last February, which is when the budget process started, would have in their mind that they've got to get prepared for the budget season for the next fiscal year. I would be willing to bet that committee operates more as, here's a problem, what do we do about it?
I agree.
Here's a
But this
problem,
goes
what do
to
we do about
15. This
it?
started in 15,
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
project.
Yeah,
The project did.
Right, so. it
But they
was a
haven't done
known-
anything in-
It was a known expense for, future expense. Now, if, what Billy said was, Lou joined the
Right.
committee and he wants to get stuff done, and I get it, but to your point, it's not an emergency. We don't
No,
have
it's
a
not an
problem
it's,
now.
no, from what he said, I didn't get any sense of an emergency.
The last time we
Right.
met, I got a sense that there was some compliance or liability issue that we were then going to be culpable.
Yeah, this is a much fuller picture.
Right.
than-
So I just-
Right, right.
Yeah, so I view it as, like, it's done through the regular budget process, as opposed to, because if we start making exceptions for something that's not a real emergency type thing, such as this, then we get the slippery slope. Okay, great, I don't want to wait for the budget process, come on in, let's talk with the finance committee.
And if it's not a budget process, do it at a special town meeting.
Yeah.
I don't see a rush to do it.
Okay. We have a couple of choices. We could introduce this as a formal motion and then vote for or against it, and know
I'd
which,
say
which
just
know
go
we
back
do.
to Chris and say, this is the way
Or,
we're
yeah,
leaning.
or we could say, we're just gonna table this as a request, and here are the reasons. And the reasons are that it's not that we're opposed to doing this.
No, no,
It's just that we
no.
think that there's a different process that should be gone through.
There's
and,
an appropriate process.
Yeah, and the process could
This
be.
one isn't it?
Yeah, and if there's a special town meeting coming up, that's one of the appropriate processes that could be used.
You know,
It
and
would
if,
be-
and if Lou is the new guy on the committee and he's all fire and stuff like that, Lou might have to take the initiative then in terms of, okay, well, what's the whole thing? Let's go and get it all at once.
Does that sound about right to
Issue
everybody?
with the power company ought to be resolved.
Yeah.
Going to have 2/3 or something and find out we.
Oh, you would pay for that?
Just, if for no other reason, just so everybody in that committee has the same understanding about what's going on and
Yeah.
what could be expected.
I would
As-
imagine, to your point, if they had a full plan on Dufresne's Park, a 5-year plan or 10-year revamp plan, we would go through the process of saying to the electric company, hey, this is what we're looking at,
Yeah,
what are you doing?
right.
We'd go through all those steps
Yeah.
to create that plan, and they'd say, well, they're gonna terminate here, we're responsible from here. You would have all those pieces and they'd all be knowns.
Right.
So then you can say, yes, we wanna appropriate $100,000 to this project as a town in a town meeting, and we're gonna do this over a 10-year period or 5-year period,
Yeah,
it's
it's
gonna be
$10,000.
$20,000 a year.
Here, yeah, or 10,000 a year, and yeah, and I think the town goes fine with that.
Right.
Okay, I'll go back to Chris with that. Thank you very much. In your packet there's another couple pages for another request. It's one I sent out, by email. And this one, apparently, we took over a property that, among its other features, had trees hanging dangerously over a neighbor's property. And Chris said, at first, the neighbor came to him and said, if the town has equipment and you let us borrow it, we would be happy to take these trees down. But they were very worried about their property. And Chris said, no, we can't do that. You can't lend that kind of property out to individuals to use. So the next question is, apparently, can the town do it? And I guess he sent Dave out to look at it, and Dave said, no, we can't really do that. So they've got their estimate for what it's gonna cost to hire somebody to come in and take this down. But apparently it is a dangerous situation. The tree is in danger of falling on these people's property. So that's what that request is. So,
Have they done it yet, or?
no.
All right, well, I mean, well, this matches the protocol. It's an
Yeah.
emergency, needs to be done. I move we approve it.
A second?
The company or fellow, whatever you want to call it, that's doing the work, I just had this work at my house,
Mhm.
and he was substantially below, like a third less than what somebody else quoted for the same work.
So you can get some pretty diverse prices on trees.
Yeah, you do.
Yes, you do.
Okay, I have a motion and I have a second. Any further discussion? Not then, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? None? Thank you very much. The only other thing today was, remember last time I mentioned that there was this tuberculosis case?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And didn't bring any more paperwork after the instructions to go back and look. And I'll tell you why. I talked with Dick, and he himself has a lot of questions, and he's trying to do more follow-up on it. There are some circumstances which he does not like about this whole situation, one of which is that not only is this individual not a resident of Granby, but was visiting in Granby, he's not even an American citizen. He's from South America and wants to go home. But there's some other medical questions involved too. So Dick is not going to ask right now. I'd scale him, send in an estimate of what it would cost for a number of visits for 2 or 3 months and see what happened. And he said he's not going to do that because, first of all, he wants to see if in fact we are responsible to pay. So it was a great conversation. So, yeah.
Okay.
I
And
got a slew of minutes.
got minutes, okay?
I haven't got her on the camera. Oh, somebody's got mine. You do. That's got the transfer request still attached.
Okay, we have June 4th. And June 5th. And June 11th. Why don't we take those three? Have a motion to approve those three? Okay, do I have a second? Any comments on any of them? If not, then all in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you. The next one is June 25th, reserve fund transfers, and August 27th was at the special town meeting where we had to meet beforehand to talk about the article. Do I have a motion to approve those? Do I have a second? Any further questions about those or discussions about those? If not, then all in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you. Bob, anything else?
No.
If not, then I'll take a motion to adjourn. Okay, thank you very much.